I'm looking at the FTC files, and it's very interesting what you see about Sony's business in this time. A lot of people were more focused on if, whether or not Activision Blizzard King was going to, be acquired by Microsoft, that many of them did not look, into a lot of the documents at the time. Now, previous to that, some things had already made their way out to the ether, and this one is of, note. This article written here by Tom Warren on The Verge says, Sony really hated PS4 crossplay. Confidential documents reveal. Epic Games was trying to force Sony to budge. Now, apparently, because of these, crossplay shenanigans, you could also see that somewhere within the Activision Blizzard trial 2 years later, Tom Warren is writing, and he talks about the entire, challenge that PlayStation pretty much was facing and them implementing crossplay platform fees. And Xbox was trying to cut and reduce its own store cuts to shake up the console gaming because of stuff like this. And so there were some details that came out with the Epic and the Apple case that then revealed that somewhere, somehow, Sony was probably resisting this stuff. Tom Warren said it's no secret that Sony held back PS4 platform play, cross-platform play for years, but new confidential documents and emails reveal just how much Sony was against letting people play the same games with their friends on other platforms. Sony initially blocked cross-platform play for both Rocket League and Minecraft, despite Nintendo and Microsoft both enabling players to play across Xbox and Switch. The issue really blew up when Sony blocked Fortnite crossplay in 2018 and players were angry. It now appears that Sony may have been holding out to offset potential revenue losses. In the months leading to Sony's decision to block Fortnite crossplay, Epic Games had pleaded with Sony to enable crossplay. Emails in Epic Games versus Apple case reveal. In quote, I can't think of a scenario where Epic doesn't get what we want. That possibility went out the door when Fortnite became the biggest game on PlayStation, said Joe Creener, Epic's vice president of business development. This is the email, right? So apparently, they were talking about some things here. Here's what I propose. We give you the data you're asking for, and I think, we love working with PlayStation and we want this to be a win-win. The longer this drags out, it will be less so. I can't think of a scenario where Epic doesn't get what we want. That possibility went out the door when Fortnite became the biggest game on PlayStation. Here's what I propose. We give you the data you're asking for, plus the marketing data ask. Epic deeply integrates Sony's esports API into UE4 as an engine-level feature. We market and advertise it as a first-class citizen of the engine, maybe E3 announced, and we support it in Fortnite. We announce crossplay in conjunction with Sony. Epic goes out of his way to make Sony look like heroes. You get to pick the when, where, how. Epic brands its E3 presence with PlayStation. We're planning a 100-player Celebrity Pro AM with huge after party. Budgets I've seen are huge, and it will be the biggest event at E3. Maybe we announce with all the celebs on stage, new partnership, plus. Epic is willing to explore more items. Maybe we commit to a game at launch of your next VR platform. PlayStation Plus, maybe we do something extra special for a month. Offer a unique character or something highly valuable to drive PlayStation Plus adoption even more. Epic extends the Sony company-wide UE4 license. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but your license to use UE4 expires in May 2019. The license has some of the best terms we've ever offered for UE4. Let's make this a win for all. Epic's not changing its mind on the issue, so let's agree on it now. Some heavy-hitting business proposition, if I've ever seen any. Now, he sweetened the deal with some, really cool PR stuff on the front end. But boy, he was really gunning for exactly what it is that he wanted in this particular situation. And he was not going to be taking no for an answer in any case. To make Sony look like yours. So apparently, I think what was going on was a strong arming in some case. The platform holder, basically wanting to go ahead and strong arm to probably get extra benefits at the end of the day. But Fortnite blew up so much, PlayStation could not resist not only the fact that it was a reality and the flood of players that were coming in, to the ecosystem and wanting those things that were offered across the board. So in this particular situation, it's actually very funny to see how this whole thing basically went and pushed. Right? Also, what's crazy is there's a cross-platform policy that was also unveiled, which showed that Epic Games, CEO Tim Sweeney confirmed in testimony that Sony is the only platform holder that requires this compensation for crossplay, which is basically at the time they want a percentage for crossplay if you actually did that. This is the reason why console as an ecosystem is just a wild proposition when you think about it. You already are going to be getting revenue from all kinds of stuff. And still, they want you to pay them for the convenience. Oh, it's just weird. Check this out. Payment and Partners will provide each SIE territory with monthly reports of any such PS4 revenue share and shall pay the applicable SIE territory invoice within 30 days of the date of the invoice. Payments commence on the month the title exceeds or is expected to exceed $500,000 in PSN gross revenue with a 12-month period. SIE have the right to audit partners' books and records related to the cross-platform revenue share in accordance with Section 151.3 of the GDPA. This is highly confidential, attorney's eyes only. This came out in public. In certain circumstances, Epic will have to pay additional revenue to Sony, said Sweeney. If somebody were primarily playing on PlayStation but paying on iPhone, then this might trigger compensation. Sweeney also revealed that Epic had to agree to pay these additional fees to Sony in order to enable crossplay in Fortnite. Sony also stipulates in a policy that publishers can't transfer virtual currency to or from PlayStation, and there must be a setting to disable all cross-platform interactions. There may have been other good reasons for Sony to stop blocking crossplay as well. 3 months after Epic Games' emails, Sony was facing backlash when it blocked Fortnite crossplay and eventually backed down in late 2018 with a new policy change to enable crossplay in certain games. I'm just fascinated reading this stuff. I'm really shocked. These emails and documents offer just a small glimpse into Sony's efforts to initially block crossplay before Epic Games' success with Fortnite seems to have forced the company to ultimately concede. You know, honestly, I think they probably had some trepidation as to how well Fortnite was probably, gonna do. They didn't have anything like this game, which is funny because now even they themselves, they enable crossplay. I think with does Helldivers 2 have crossplay? Yeah. So they are benefiting from the reality that Steam has crossplay that, they wouldn't have to charge them for. Yet they wanted to block crossplay back then. It's funny how business works. It's funny how these platform holders try to hedge themselves. And even the developers themselves. If Epic Games was not a big developer, if they didn't have an engine, if they didn't have leverage in the industry, it would have been crazy. And PlayStation didn't seem like they were willing to budge. They were like, yeah, we'll renew that Epic Games Unreal Engine license. If you remember at the time, probably, there was a game being developed with Unreal Engine. They all know what it is. It was Days Gone. So this whole thing with the gaming industry on the inside, to me, I find very fascinating because in looking at it, and I'm not saying anybody in this case is doing anything wrong or right or whatever it is. Everyone is just trying. These are cutthroat businesses, right? And you guys see how Sony plays. They don't play around. This is exactly why a lot of their consumers are going to get tired. I think that's what it is. Nintendo's consumers are also going to get tired as well. And it happens almost every time. The moment, someone removes value proposition and starts to strong arm, and nickel and dime their audiences, even developers, they eventually start seeing their business actually dwindle. It's weird, but you'll see it. Value proposition is usually what raises businesses in competitive and tight markets. And I think that's why you're seeing Xbox excel in this case. And, just bumped my mic. And in this, situation, Xbox is making more cross-platform games across the board. I think once that ship, sailed, Xbox has realized, man, we have an opportunity here. And they're filling every gap. They're not wasting any time. If you get what I mean. So it's pretty cool to see all this. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.